Hello, welcome back to the reading of the poem of the Man God, written by Maria Valtorta, Volume 2. Chapter 224, Part 1, Arrival at Bether. 20th July, 1945. The train of animals following the Apostolic College has undergone a change. The billy goat is no longer there, and in its place there is a sheep and 2 lambs. A fat sheep with turgid udder, 2 little lambs as cheerful as urchins. A tiny flock that looks less magic than the very dark billy goat. It makes everybody happy. I told you that we would have a little goat to make Margie a little happy shepherd. Instead of the little goat, since you will not hear of goats, we got sheep, and white ones, exactly as Peter wanted them. Of course, I thought I was pulling Beelzebub behind me, says Peter. In fact, since it was with us, how many unpleasant things have happened. It was a spell following us, confirms the Iscariot angrily. A good spell, then, because what harm has really befallen us, says John calmly. They all shout at him, reproaching him for his blindness. Didn't you see how they were mocked at Modine? And do you think my brother's fall was just nothing? He might have been ruined. If he had broken his legs or his back, how could we have carried him away from there? And do you think that last night's incident was a pleasant one? I saw everything. I considered everything. And I blessed the Lord because nothing wrong happened to us. Evil came towards us, but then it ran away, as usual. And the incidents have certainly served to leave seeds of goodness both at Modine and with the vine dressers, who came with the certainty that they would find at least one person wounded, and with the remorse of having been without charity, and in fact they wanted to make amends. And the same happened last night with the robbers. They did no harm, and we, that is Peter, got the sheep in exchange for the goat, and as a present for their safety. And there is now a good deal of money for the poor, because the merchants and the women gave us purses of money and offerings. And what is more important, they all received the word of Jesus. John is right, says the zealot and Judas Thaddeus, and the latter concludes, everything seems to be taking place through a clear foreknowledge of the future. It is odd that we should be there, and we were late because of my fall, at the same time as the jeweled women, and the shepherds with large flocks, as well as the merchants lousy with money, all of whom were a wonderful prey for the robbers. Brother, tell me the truth. Did you know that all that was going to happen? Thaddeus asks Jesus. I told you many a time that I can read the hearts of men, and when the Father does not dispose otherwise, I do not ignore what must happen. Well, why do you at times make mistakes, such as going towards hostile Pharisees, or to towns that are completely hostile, asks Judas Iscariot. Jesus stares at him, and then says calmly and slowly, they are not mistakes. They are necessities of my mission. The sick need a doctor, and the ignorant a master. Both the former and the latter at times reject doctor or master. But if they are good doctors and good masters, they continue to go to those who refuse them, because it is their duty to go, and I go. You would like all resistance to collapse wherever I go. I could do that, but I do not use violence against anyone. I convince people. Coercion is to be used only in very exceptional cases, and only when a spirit enlightened by God understands that it may serve to persuade that God exists and is the strongest, or when many people are to be saved. Like yesterday evening, eh? Asks Peter. Yesterday evening, those robbers were afraid because they saw that we were wide awake and waiting for them, says the Iscariot with evident scorn. No, they were convinced by words, says Thomas. No, they would not dream of it. They are indeed tender souls that can be convinced by a couple of words, even if spoken by Jesus. I know what they are like when I was attacked with my family, and many people of Bethsaida in the gorge of Adumim, replies Philip. Master, tell me. It's since yesterday that I wanted to ask you. Was it your words or your will to prevent anything from happening? Asks James of Zebedee. Jesus smiles and is silent. Matthew replies, I think that it was his will to overcome the hardness of those hearts, which he almost paralyzed in order to be able to speak and save them. I say that too. That is why he remained there by himself, looking at the wood. He subdued them with his look, by means of his defenseless calm and by trusting them. He did not even have a stick in his hands, says Andrew. All right, that's what we say. That's what we think. But I want to hear it from the Master, says Peter. There is a lively discussion in which Jesus does not interfere. Some say that since Jesus has declared that he does not force anyone, he has not used coercion in the case of those robbers either. That is what Bartholomew states. The Iscariot, instead, who is mildly supported by Thomas, declares that he cannot believe that the look of a man can do so much. Matthew retorts, it can do that and much more. I was converted by his look, even before he spoke to me. The opposite opinions caused a lively discussion, as each stubbornly insists in his own. John, like Jesus, is silent, and he smiles, lowering his head to conceal his smile. Peter revives the discussion as none of the arguments of his companions convinces him. He thinks and says that the look of Jesus is different from the look of an ordinary man. And he wants to know whether it is because he is Jesus, the Messiah, or because he is always God. Jesus speaks. I solemnly tell you that not only I, but anyone who is united to God by means of faultless holiness, purity, and faith will be able to do that and much more. The look of a child, if his spirit is united to God, can cause vain temples to collapse without shaking them as Samson did. It can command wild beasts and men beasts to be meek. It can repel death and defeat diseases of the spirit. And the word of a child united to God and an instrument of God can also cure diseases, make the poison of snakes harmless, work all kinds of miracles, because it is God who works in him. Ah, I understand, says Peter, and he stares at John. And after a long internal conversation with himself, he concludes in a loud voice, yes, you, Master, can do that because you are God, and because you are man united to God. And the same happens to those who go so far, or have gone so far as to be united to God. I understand, I really understand. But are you not inquiring about the key to that union, or about the secret of that power? Not all men are successful in going so far, although they all have the same means to succeed. Quite right. Where is the key to that strength which unites man to God and dominates matter? A prayer or secret words? A short while ago, Judas of Simon was blaming the billy goat for all the unpleasant incidents that happened to us. There are no spells connected with animals. Reject superstitions, which are also a form of idolatry and can cause misfortunes. And as there are no formulas to work witchcraft, so there are no secret words to work miracles. There is only love. As I said yesterday evening, love calms the violent and satisfies the greedy. Love, God. With God within you, fully possessed through perfect love, your eye will become a fire capable of burning every idol and knocking down their simulacra, and your word will become power, and your eye will become an arm that disarms. You cannot resist God. You cannot resist love. Only the demons can resist it, because he is perfect hatred, and his children can resist with him. The others, the weak people seized with passions, but who have not sold themselves voluntarily to the demon, cannot resist. Whatever their religion may be, or their indifference to any faith, whatever the level of their spiritual baseness, they are struck by love, the great winner. Endeavor to arrive there soon, and you will do what the children of God and the bearers of God do. Peter does not take his eyes off John. Also the sons of Alphaeus, James and Andrew, are lively and watchful. Well then, my lord, says James of Zebedee, what has happened to my brother? You are speaking of him. He is the boy who works miracles, is that it? Is that so? What has he done? He turned a page of the book of life, and he read and learned new mysteries, nothing else. He preceded you because he does not stop to consider every obstacle, to weigh every difficulty, to work out every profit. He no longer sees the earth. He sees the light and goes to it without stopping. But leave him alone. The souls burning with greater flames are not to be disturbed in their ardor, which gladdens and burns. You must let them burn. It is utmost joy and utmost toil. God grants them moments of darkness because he knows that fierce heat kills delicate souls. When they are exposed to continuous sunshine, God grants silence and mystic dew to such delicate souls. As he grants it to wild flowers, let the athlete of love rest when God allows him to rest. Imitate gymnasiarchs who grant their pupils due rest. When you arrive where he has already arrived, and beyond, because both you and he will go beyond that point, you will realize the need for respect, silence, and dim light that souls feel when they become the prey of love and its instrument. Do not think, I would be glad to be known, and John is a fool, because the souls of our neighbors, like the souls of children, want to be attracted by wonders. No, when you are there, you will have the same desire for silence and dim light as John has now. And when I shall no longer be amongst you, remember that when you have to pronounce sentence on a conversion or on possible holiness, you must always use humility as your measure. If a man is still proud, do not believe that he is converted. And if pride reigns in a man, you may even be said to be a saint. You may be sure that he is not a saint. He may quackishly and hypocritically play the saint and pretend he works wonders, but he is no saint. His appearance is hypocrisy. His wonders are Satanism. Have you understood? Yes, Master. They are all quiet and pensive, but if their lips are closed, it is possible to guess their thoughts by their countenance. A deep desire to know quivers like ether around them, emanating from them. This has been a reading from the poem of the Man God, written by Maria Valtorta, Volume 2. Chapter 224, Part 1, Arrival at Bether. Thank you for listening. I will see you tomorrow. May God bless you, and may peace be with you.